Hi, I think it's on. Okay. Sorry, we just had to separate because of the light on the screen. We're not having a little battle here on the stage. Or we could, it could be quite fun. In fact, we were talking earlier about how relaxed this conference was. There doesn't seem to be the same level of competitiveness that there often is at a conference, which is interesting, something to be discussed further. But first of all, I want to say freaking congratulations to everybody. It's been amazing to be here. And one of the things that I think is important for me, and I'm sure is important for lots of you, is the knowledge gained. And every time we do, or any of us do an event like this, whether it's a workshop or a conference, and it'd be absolutely fantastic if this conference continued to roll around the world from year to year in different places, because there's so much to discover, and particularly about different regions, and we all know how there are histories of photography all over the world, but we seem to be limited by our own territories, and there's certain kinds of histories that are very dominant, so it's very exciting to get away from them. So I feel as a photographer, both as a photographer and somebody involved in lecturing and education, that the knowledge gained here is going to be absolutely vital to me and to many of you, and of course it will be on the Fast Forward platform for people to look back on. So that's really, really important. Sorry, I've made notes on the computer, which is not the same as having them on a piece of paper. So the conference has made me think, and it's made me think about ideas, and it's made me think about women, their lives, and ideas to do with women and how they live their lives, as well as ideas to do with photographers, so the way they've been represented. And I feel like I've seen a very different perspective than the perspective that I'm normally looking at every day, day in, day out, in all the photographs I see. So that's been really, really refreshing. People have talked a lot about politics, the politics of place and ethics, and I think that's also really, really interesting, that this idea of the use of photography to make a point that is political in one way or another has social implication and meaning. So each time one of these events happens, it really enthuses me to think about the future and what we can do next and how we can do something more. And I think it's a really long project, and it should go on for as long as it takes, and I think it's a very positive one. So I just feel really excited about what's going to happen next, as well as totally refreshed by the knowledge that I've gained through all of your amazing presentations.
Is it to me now? Yes. My experience, well, I share all the nice, how to say, the good experience of having learned a lot, and part of it was participation in this committee while creating the program. Of course, you have been organizing it, the main organizers, but thanks for inviting us with Yeva. And it was a great time in May in London. For me, it was really instructive. That's why I wanted to join the team, because I want to see how it works from inside. You know, we still, despite the 25 and more years of independence, we still feel separated from the world because of this lag behind in time. When we need still to catch up with theory, with knowledge and everything, we are doing that as fast as we can. But, you know, you can't be faster than your own mind and than your abilities. You cannot overrun time or outrun. Yes, and of course there is the problem of money. Things which are so easily accessible in London are sometimes very difficult to come by here. They even stop renting these databases, academic databases sometimes in Lithuania. You know, they say, oh, there is no money and it's not useful, all these humanities is rubbish, we don't need that and we won't pay for that. And okay, we are all stuck with what we can find online, pirated, thankfully, by lots of people in the world. We really depend on pirates, so I always say it openly. Otherwise, we would be stuck just in our own pot of soup. as we call it, or our own history. So it was really great to be with you and to see how demanding you are all for quality. It was really impressive to me that, for example, there were not such a big ocean of applications, but still you rejected the ones which didn't seem to fulfill the purpose of the conference. And we made a program which is, at least to me, was really enriching. I've learned so much today and yesterday, and such a variety of topics. And we could speak about women's art and women's input in photography, but I would like to look from this photography side. I'm a feminist, yes, but I'm interested both in men's and women's photography. I don't differentiate in terms of gender and sex, but photography is my topic. And actually in Lithuania there is a lot of talk among artists that there is too much photography now, all this digital age, we are fed up with it, we are bored with it, and maybe it's dying or should be dead or killed or whatever. And it was exciting really to see this attention to photography. And I really marked for myself what somebody said yesterday, that yes, photography has to be differentiated as something separate also from art, because it has its own richness and we have to preserve it. So as you see, it was possible to gain something even unrelated to women's issues and women's art in this conference for somebody who is fan of photography.
Something that was raised yesterday, which I think is incredibly important, is two words actually: network, market, mentoring. Okay, all of those things are vital. We're sitting here in a kind of wonderful kind of network where, you know, we have real power in that network to enable and move forward. But also, of course, there's always this dynamic of the market, what gets shown and presented to curators on the international stage through art fairs or through major exhibitions, the choices that are made. And Anna mentioned yesterday the commitment of the Tate to have 50% women photographers. However, you know, we don't really want it to be 50% women photographers. What we want it to be is people to be aware of the fantastic, wonderful photographs being made by practitioners, or practitioners both living and dead, that have not had the status or the fantastic marketing that they should have. And this is a very difficult thread, the market. How do you kind of almost, you know, without speculating on the market, you know, if you think of market confidence and suddenly somebody says, oh, have you heard of this, you know, this photographer or this artist, and suddenly a Power 100 list, by the way, the art review of Power 100 is headed up this year by Hito, a woman artist. So, you know, suddenly that's, oh my goodness, have you heard of that person? And it kind of grows into a, you know, gets on everybody's lips. And I hope today and through this conference, going up online, and the curators that are here and the artists that are here, that you know, these voices and these artists will, you know, appear in the markets. You know, one of the artist that was mentioned yesterday, Natalia LL, I'd not seen her work before, but I saw it where? Popped up at an art fair. And suddenly I went, oh, yes, I recognise that, you know. So I think this, you know, this idea of being able to spread the word and to reach curators, and, you know, I'm painfully aware of how difficult it is to persuade sometimes to include people, but it's that banging on the door and that persuasion that I think is vital to do.
Thank you, Jean. Yeah, I was thinking, and this is a conference, and I guess the whole you know, the idea of the conference is that we confer and we talk. And I've been struck all the way through about how much trust is involved in that as we kind of share our memories, and especially some of the people who've spoken in such an intimate way about archives that they're so closely related to, archives of friendship, archives of family. And I feel... I've been to quite a lot of conferences in my life, and I feel that there's something about this Fast Forward one that encourages that kind of trust. And we were talking about it at lunchtime, and I think it's because, maybe it's because we're just all women, or maybe it's because of the kind of women we are, because it's always difficult to, you know, actually make those divisions. But it feels to me as if there's very little hierarchy here. There are no big institutions here who have a party line to pursue. We're all individuals. We're all talking about things that we care about, even if we come from an institution. That institution doesn't really matter that much in what we're saying, because we're not wielding great budgets, or we're not buying things from people. So there's no need here for anybody to sort of you know, be talking to particular people. So I think of some of these events that you go to where you get little gaggles of people having meetings and deals are being made, and that's kind of not happening here. And I think that's part of the success, but I guess it could also be part of the fact that maybe we're not creating a power base. I mean, these are just things that I'm throwing out, and maybe people succeed in photography because they do create these power bases, or they're able to identify what the power bases are. So that's just something to kind of think about. I haven't come to any conclusions about that, but I think these are just all things that have occurred to me through the 2 days, which I think has been remarkable. I think it's really useful to present work at conferences like this. I know from the Fast Forward conference I can think of 2 or 3 people whose work has been taken up by that, people who gave artist talks. So it's always useful to share. It's good to share, and of course it encourages trust, and it encourages confidence, but I think it also provides opportunities. So the more doors we can open ourselves to different kinds of work. I've been amazed by some of the things that I've heard today, absolutely remarkable things, some of which I knew a bit about already, but of course you don't really know about something until you've heard a half an hour talk on it. You just know it by association. And I've been impressed by the ways that it's been talked about that photography can be used to change things, and people sometimes think that's a bit old-fashioned, and that's come up through the conference as well. But, you know, have some things become old-fashioned, like storytelling, and I think in a way we kind of stand against people telling us what to do. I always think in photography, and I think more than probably in any other medium, there's always a set of rules being, I don't know who makes these rules, but they're always kind of there. You know, you can't do this and you can do this. And I feel that this conference is kind of slightly lawless. You know, we're all these witches kind of, you know, going off on our broomsticks now to sort of to think about these things without people telling us what we can and can't do. And is that a female thing? Is that because we're all women? I mean, I'd love to hear if anybody thinks that, because I've certainly noticed those, you know, so little competitiveness here, and people are really sort of sharing. So can photography be used to change the world? Taser certainly thinks so. Rebecca thinks so. Tish Merthyr thought so. Frankie Raffles thought so. Did it change the world? Who knows? Janet Mendelsohn didn't want to change the world, but she wanted to record things. She wanted a record for herself and for her own sort of cultural education. Who knows what photography does? It's a big question. But I think it's really important that photography stays free and easy, and I think one of the things that Fast Forward does, it's not the only organisation that does that, but I think one of the things it does is it keeps photography free, which I think is a great thing.
Now it looks like it's really finished, but I think
it's all over.
I would like just to thank to everyone. So first of all, I just mentioned a few institutions. Thank to them in the HAP. So it's first of all thanks to Lithuanian Ministry of Culture and Lithuanian Culture Council, also for National Gallery of Art for letting us to be here, also for institutions who supported us. So it's University for the Creative Arts and Photography Art Research Center at University of the Arts London. And of course, behind all this institution, there are so many people I would like to thank. So first of all the team who were working on, from the very beginning on the conference. So Anna Fox, Agnė Narušytė, Jane Wainwright, Val Williams, and Grace Lau. Yeah. And also Maria Kapayova, who is, we see her just running with microphone, but she was one of this person who kept all the time everything under control. And there is a group of volunteers, and so the biggest thanks to Katrina, Ula Kiliulytė, then Agnė Narušytė. Big thanks to the translators, Vitalis Čerekovas, cameraman, fotografams, Justui Gudeikiui, Akvilei Daukšaitei, mano kolegiai ir dabar jau draugiai Mildai Donovskytei už nuostabų bendradarbiavimą dirbant už Leivytę. Ir ačiū visiems jums atėjusiems. Thank you.
Thank you.
None of these things happen in a vacuum.